Welcome back to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on Twitter at Edgework Show, but we encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel, Edgework, where you can subscribe there, like this stream, and turn on notifications by clicking that bell so you get notified every single time that we go live Monday through Friday. And then you can track all of our picks in the BetStamp app in the marketplace as Edgework, so you can see them in real time, see how they perform, and see how we've done so far throughout this season. Guys, the World Cup is on right now. I missed out on a great opportunity to win guaranteed money here. The stream goes out and I immediately get a notification. Someone has replied, guaranteed fixed match. I missed out on a ton of money. Are you guys getting in on this? Like, if you got the free money here?
Whoever designed those bots,
man,
there's a special place in hell for that person. I will say
it's
those
automatic.
are so annoying.
Yeah.
It's they've quickly become, in the last couple of years, they've quickly become easily the most annoying thing on gambling Twitter, I think, because they're relentless. It's like Sal 30, Sal 31, Sal 32, Sal 33, just these unlimited accounts of the same pitcher posting about fixed matches. Man, it's just a brutal thing that's going on right now.
Yeah, well, if you listen to Circles Off, which was released last night, you would have heard Rob and Johnny discussing fixed matches, so you can check that out on the Circles Off YouTube channel.
You got any fixed matches, Rob?
Well, I mean, I don't know yet if all the people from the NFL have met to determine the outcomes of this week's games. I don't know if they've scripted the games yet. I haven't heard anything on my end. But.
All right, let's get into some hockey here. We've been talking about on the past few shows about goalies and how they haven't really been announced quite yet. Sometimes when we're doing the show, sometimes they've been announced live on air. So Money's usually the guy absolutely hammering away the refresh button, letting us know when they do come up live, when goalie changes happen or a different guy is announced. And you can see the boards lighting up, lines are moving all different places, reacting to goalie announcements. But so far this season, I've been burned by some goalie changes myself. I know Rob and I were talking about it before we started, and it's not been because I've expected one guy, it's gone the other way. When the other guys announce, it's been I've reacted to news, I've bet on the team because the other team's playing the goalie, and then still gotten burned by it. The goalie situation has been really interesting with some of that stuff, but I know, Andy, you're saying goalies this season have been very important to each team, and when you're betting on some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, and specifically today, you're looking at some of the best goaltenders in the league. You got Igor Shesterkin with the Rangers, Ilya Sorokin with the Islanders, and of course Connor Hellebuck with the Winnipeg Jets. And I would say that all of those three goaltenders I have projected to start more often than not today. But I think there are all reasons that they might not start. For you look at the Islanders, they've got 3 games against Western Conference opponents. I doubt Ilya Sorokin's going to start all 3 of those games. So Varlamov will probably get a game, maybe 2. You never know. Sometimes those things happen in these kind of weird schedule blocks where a team plays out of conference like this. So maybe it's tonight, and that would obviously, reduce the Islanders' chances of winning. Varlamov's a good goaltender, but Sorokin is arguably the best goaltender in the NHL right now. He's got a .935 save percentage, leads all goaltenders outside of Akira Smid, but he's played 4 games. But Sorokin's been unreal this season. And then you look in Winnipeg, and they're a team that's really hot right now. They're playing well. I think their underlying metrics are a lot stronger than a lot of people expected them to be, especially recently. But you'd be foolish to say that Hellebuck's not the main reason that they're having so much success. And David Rittich is a huge downgrade. Of course, the Jets are playing at home, and Hellebuck typically plays at home. And you've got former Jet Patrick Laine returning to the lineup tonight. They'll probably go with Hellebuck, but I think there's a small chance that they could go with Rittich because the Blue Jackets are a weak team, and specifically a weak defensive team. So maybe they look at this as a matchup that they can kind of cheat on here, right? So. And then the Rangers, both Ottawa and New York are playing again tomorrow. Doesn't seem to be really a huge advantage, for the Rangers. They're playing the Blackhawks tomorrow. I guess you could go with Halak tomorrow, but they got past the Senators with Halak in goal. just earlier this week. So maybe they try to again here today in New York.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Rob, was there any thoughts on goalies on your end there?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest advantages a sports bettor can have nowadays, whether that's in hockey or any sport, is reacting to news. And we see that all the time, the emergence of like underdog fantasy accounts and people who are just constantly refreshing all day to see when LeBron James is out or players are resting or whatever. And in hockey, that big advantage is going to come from these when you have an elite goalie that doesn't play and the drop off to the backup. And it's not like Yaroslav Halak is a terrible goalie by any stretch of the imagination. He's pretty much been league average this year. But when Shesterkin's not in, Halak is there. There needs to be some sort of market movement. If you've only placed those bets this year in hockey, you'd be in the poorhouse. I don't know what it is this year with the backups being able to pull it out. I don't know if there's a change in like a league-wide dynamic where teams are just playing a little bit tighter in front of their backups. I have not been able to find that, by the way.
Brian Elliott is what, 5-1 this
yes,
season,
exactly. Brian Elliott's the perfect example of the guy that's just constantly winning the games where the market's steaming 30-40 cents against him. It probably will balance out over time. Like, it obviously sucks to lose those types of games and get a great price on a game and lose it. But at the end of the day, Brian Elliott is not Andrei Vasilevsky. You have to price him for being Brian Elliott, and the same with the rest of the backups around the league. So I would say to people to not get discouraged by that, because a lot of times people are like, oh, this is nonsense. This is a closing line value, whatever. It's like we're talking about a very small sample, right?
For sure. And I wonder what your thoughts on this are, Rob, and kind of sorry to put you on the spot about something a little weird, but like for the casual bettor, the guy that's not trying to make his own numbers and is just trying to, pick good lines out and make bets every day. How much anticipation do you think there is out there? Like, let's take today, for example, with New York and Ottawa. The Rangers are priced around minus 175 consensus price, it looks like right now. Like, with the possibility of Halak starting today, given that they're on back-to-back tomorrow, they've already beaten the Senators with their backup goaltender. Maybe they try again. How careful do you think that people have to be in terms of like assuming that possibility isn't somewhat already priced in? You know what I mean? Like, it's if you just blindly assume that, okay, the market expected Halak to start today, now Shesterkin starting, I'm going to play the Rangers because Shesterkin is confirmed as a goaltender. Or do you think there's less of that, and more often than not the market is priced with the better goaltender?
So it's challenging to say for sure. When I first started betting hockey, I'd make a price for every goaltending combination, right? And say, okay, I'm going to wait till these goalies are confirmed. And then if I have an edge, I'm going to fire on the price. You can't do that anymore. For one, you just don't have the time to get down like a lot of money on any sort of player news nowadays. The market moves way quicker than it did like 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I think we can agree on that. Now what I do is I essentially set the probability I think that both goalies have of starting in the game, and I create one number on the game. And if we have an edge, we bet it, period.
Yeah.
So there might be some of, for example, today I have Shesterkin 75%. So my number has 25% Halak in that game. If Shesterkin ends up starting, then my number was off by a little bit. My number on the Rangers is going to improve, but I'm not afforded the ability anymore to just wait and see what happens. I am technically, I can, and there will be times where I can still get a bet, but there's also going to be times where it's gone and I'm going to miss a bet. So I'm a little bit more aggressive in that sense. And I think other people are. I've talked to so many about this before as well. And I think he's in the same boat as well, where he's willing to take a chance on a side. And I think it's kind of become that way in all sports, where people just have to try to get out ahead of the number. It's kind of like a race to be in the market quickest, because everybody knows what to look for nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And you got to give yourself some sort of edge.
Yeah, I would say I'm aggressive in that respect as well. But one thing I do find, like, obviously challenging with how I do things at VSiN. I'm writing an article every day, and sure, I try to some days, especially on the busy days, to update things. But for me to make a bet, go to the website, log into the CMS, update the article. By the time I do that, it's already, it's pointless. Like there's, you know what I mean? And so I don't bother tweeting out a lot. Maybe that'll change in the future. But because, you know, I'm at VSiN to provide sports betting content, I don't feel it's necessarily right to make Twitter the main place where I give out bets. So I try to give out some good bets in the morning, you know, when things are kind of fresh and the market isn't moving a whole lot. But trying to keep up with news while also, you know, kind of doing things in this structure is just insanely hard. And it's tough to produce content that way. You've almost, like, the people that just tweet out plays have such an advantage over somebody that has to, like I said, go to a website, write an article and you know, post it and all that stuff that takes an extra 10 to 15 minutes. So it really doesn't work a lot of the time to do that in the content from a content perspective.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, the people who just tweet out plays, though, as well, you're probably, you know, even if you tweet out something related to an injury, anyone can do that, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's not a value, because there's certain people out there that just want to tail it and they'll set notifications for someone's Twitter,
totally,
and so on and so forth. But you're not really, I don't know. I kind of feel very weird about the space as a whole. And I completely echo what you're saying. Like, you know, we're live at 10:44 a.m. Eastern time. And by the end of the day today, there might be something that changed what we've done or what we've talked about today. And people will still consume the content and, you know, not account for that change. The content space in picks is extremely challenging. The real, like, really a lead into games would work, but by that point you have almost no value left on the board either. So it's like a balancing act. And we're always going to have to navigate that in one way or another. That's why I try to do my best to give, like, as many scenarios as possible, right? Like, if we see this goalie, if this player doesn't play, this is what I'm thinking. This is where my line will be. And at least people can make informed decisions based off of that.
Yeah, I try to do that as well. Unfortunately, that doesn't, you know, that analysis doesn't contribute to your record or whether people think you're, you know, some people might see it and appreciate that type of analysis. But if you don't give a bet out at the end, a lot of people find it pretty useless. So, yeah.
Well, if you're looking for more of Andy's, if you want access to Andy's daily NHL picks, well, that's what it's called now, Andy. You said the betting marker report.
Today's NHL bets or something like that. I don't know.
This guy put on his SEO hat last week and changed things up on us. Gave the little plug to Andy for his work at VSiN, but you can get it with the VSiN's Pro subscriptions. You can get access to Andy's daily NHL picks there. But then I gave Andy the plug, and he's like, "Yes, it's not what it is anymore. Like, it's too hard."
I can't keep up. I just write the articles and post them, and people read them, and try my best to, you know, provide some value to people every day.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, another team here. Actually, I guess both teams in this situation have had some interesting goalie stuff going on. One in particular, Rob, you got to watch this game go down last night. It was between the Oilers and the Wild. And the funniest thing I continue to see, whether it be former players, guys in the media, or just like executives in the league speaking through via the media or insiders and stuff, is like, if this Edmonton Oilers team lost one of McDavid or Draisaitl, they're essentially an AHL team. And like you lose one guy and all of a sudden they're like, that's it. They're pooched. Right now, they're already in a position where they may struggle to make the playoffs. They're not getting any type of goaltending. You signed a huge contract to Jack Campbell in the offseason. He's in year one, and the conversation is like, oh, can we get this guy back to normal? Can we get Jack Campbell out of this slump? It's like, that's a bad position to be in, on top of the fact you've lost Evander Kane for a long time. Is this Edmonton Oilers team in some serious trouble of missing the playoffs right now?
I think so. So I was at a bar last night watching Thursday Night Football, and I got two other hockey games on the screens on the side, which was Sabres, Avalanche, and Oilers and Wild as well. And the Oilers don't look good. I'm not too high on the Wild team, and they kind of dominated Edmonton at 5-on-5. But the Jack Campbell experiment has to end at some point soon. And this is where you get into the inherent challenge of, you sign a goalie to a long-term contract. We're going to give him enough rope to, you know, try to see this through, versus, okay, now we've dropped a lot of points and we cannot win whenever we put this guy in net. So at which point do you just say, we have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they're still young guys. This is a team that Maybe we can add a few pieces at the deadline, potentially make a run here, but we got to get into the playoffs. At what point do you just say, you know what, Jack, I'm sorry, we got to sit you down for a long time, because this is not new, right? This isn't just like, oh, he's gone to Edmonton and he's been bad. He was very bad for the latter half of last season. From January onwards, he was one of the worst goaltenders in the league in terms of goals saved above expected. So I just look at Edmonton and I'm like, okay, this is already a team that is pretty much like league average at 5-on-5. Anytime they take a step up in class, they're kind of getting, I don't want to say killed, but like they're getting the play taken to them because they just don't have the depth of those teams. And then you put bad goaltending in on top of that, and it's not like a runaway for them. I expect that, like, Calgary's behind them in the standings. I think Calgary has a much better chance of being better going forwards than Edmonton. You look at the other division, Nashville struggled to start the year. You have some teams in there that are all going to be fighting for those wild card spots. I don't think that I'm necessarily favoring Edmonton over any of them right now, as long as they keep riding Jack Campbell and net. So I think that's got to change for them very quickly, or they are at serious risk of not. And like, what's it going to be like if they miss the playoffs for a guy like McDavid, who's going to be free agent in a couple of years? Like, it's going to be really, really rough in Edmonton.
Well, he's coming to Toronto anyways. So it doesn't really matter.
They seem to be relying on McDavid and Draisaitl like more heavily than they have been in the last couple of years. And of course, the injury to Kane was a big blow to the team, and you have to account for that. And they've missed some depth pieces, and their depth has taken a hit over the last little bit. But yeah, like, I mean, they don't look too bad on offense when you look at like them in all situations. I think they rank around 11th or 10th overall. But 5-on-5, I don't know, I'm frozen up here. 5-on-5, they are they're atrocious. They're like 24th in the league on offense. And yeah, McDavid and Draisaitl have, I believe, contributed about 55 or 56% of their goals this season. So it's just not a good look for this team. And I agree with everything that Rob said.
After every Oilers game, I like to use Money Puck for visuals, not necessarily for the stats and metrics itself, but just for the visuals. And after every game, I kind of click through. I'm like, okay, which players did well at 5 versus 5 and this and that, because they have a nice little chart that's posted there. Visual.
The stacks, you mean?
The
like
stack, yeah. And it's always, McDavid and Draisaitl near the top, and then everybody else just like
slam down, sandwiched together,
exactly
compressed all together. You can't even read their names.
Exactly. You're trying to mob
just two big, huge blocks of McDavid and Draisaitl, and then a tiny little bunch of little slices with like names that you can barely read. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, even just to touch on that too, like you're talking about teams that are behind them. The Oilers right now in the first wild card spot, they got 26 points. The Wild, the Preds, the Flames, all sitting behind them. They're either 2 or 3 points back, and they all have games in hand on the Oilers here. Like now, it is very early in the season, but just in comparison, like relatively here, it's not looking good. So,
and I'm not optimistic that this team is going to sit down Jack Campbell, because they're the same team that ran Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith, for how many years. So I don't know. I don't think they've necessarily got the best radar when it comes to, okay, we should get rid of this goaltender. So
Ken Holland doesn't strike me as a guy either that's going to be willing to admit that he got it wrong and just go to the coaching staff and say, do what you guys want to do here type of situation. I'm sure there's pressure at the top to say, like, we're playing him until he turns it around. Like, he's going to turn it around. I know he's going to turn it around. It just never happens.
All right, last thing before we get into some of these games here tonight a little bit more. One thing that has been kind of consistent, I've always felt, especially like growing up playing hockey, having buddies who are playing higher level hockey, is just seeing like your special teams. You're basically looking for above 20% on your power play, 80% on your penalty kill, and then that's a pretty good year. Like if you finish at that. This season in the NHL, things have been a whole lot different, whether it be penalty kill percentages being down in general or on specific teams, or power plays being through the roof. Andy, can you take us through kind of what's gone on this year and how much people should be looking into special teams?
Yeah, I think, for a lot of years, a lot of my focus, and I think a lot of other people like, Rob and others that bet on hockey, were mostly focused on the teams play at 5-on-5, but special teams are becoming of bigger importance, I guess you would say. And, just an easy way to kind of point out what's going on right now. I think, in general, intuitively, the last couple of years, you could look at the way the game was being played, and you could say that teams were playing in a much more optimal way on offense, not taking, not firing as many muffins. They're really trying to get those, grade A scoring chances more than just lobbing pucks to the net. There's still a lot of that, don't get me wrong, but teams are getting smarter and playing the game in a different way. And if you look at the last 3 seasons and just look at, scoring efficiency on the power play, so goals per 60 minutes, we can look at 2019-20, even though it was a shortened season because we're doing it this way. The 9 out of the top 15 power plays in terms of goals for per 60 minutes are from this season. The rest are from last season. None are from 2019-20. There are, I believe, six teams this season that are scoring over 10 power play goals on a per 60-minute basis. Last season, there was 3. The season before, there was 0. So, some of these teams like the Avalanche, the Stars, the Bruins, the Oilers, right? They've got the 5th best power play scoring efficiency in the league, and it's a reason why they aren't in the basement right now, probably. Even the Canucks, same thing. Another team that's great on the power play. But, yeah, it's a big thing right now that I'm putting a lot more focus on when I'm making my numbers. I'm trying to, make some adjustments to the way I price games here because of this. And I think it's going to be a while before teams catch up because defense always lags behind offense, I think, in the game, probably in whatever sport we're talking about. Offense is a little more free flowing and you've got more control, and defense, I think it takes a little bit more time to perfect. So these coaches have, really upped the way they play offensively, specifically on special teams. And I think they've got a long way to go in terms of catching up on the penalty kill and on the defensive side of the puck. So definitely something for bettors to watch out for, and maybe put a little bit more focus on the teams that are really good on the power play and really bad on the penalty kill.
I've noticed I noticed something probably about a month ago that the Leafs started doing on the power play, which I now see other teams doing. And I wonder if it's just like, because I believe it's not just like, there's probably some sort of fundamental change as to how teams have played offense on the power play that creates to it. And it was a John Tavares goal where he was in the slot and he basically turned his back away from the net and had his stick out of the defender's line of, and I see more and more teams doing that now, right? Where it's somebody standing in the slot, but rather than facing the net, they're actually facing away from the net so they can quickly receive a pass and get off a shot right away from right in the slot. I've noticed it several times in the past week where more teams are doing that. And I wonder if that's just like a very, very small change like that, where now your 2 defensemen stick down low cannot actually reach that pass. That just creates a slot level shot on the power play, which is pretty regularly reproducible. And that just changes everything. So I'm not the X's and O's guy to say that that's for sure the way that it's happening, but I've definitely noticed that that's happening a lot more around the league nowadays than it was previously. So maybe we'll start to see some articles filter out from the non-hockey better guys who are just break down the plays and stuff like that, where they can point to exactly where this offensive uptick is coming from.
Yeah, I did notice that as well with the Leafs there, that change. It's just the net front guy stepping out more and being like a hybrid bumper / net front guy at that point. So they're in a position for the slot shot. Let's go through some of these games here tonight with some best bets if we have any. Rob, I'll start with you. Anything that's jumping out off the page, whether it be sides, totals, or player props here?
So since we've come on air, just want to let anyone know what's changed. Cam Talbot is confirmed in net for the Ottawa Senators tonight. Talbot's actually been on par with Forsberg this year. That's not to say I expect that going forwards, because Forsberg was very good last year, but just to point out that that's an inherent change that we've had. One thing I'm looking at is Brady Tkachuk to score a goal in that game. I think anything at 2-1 or higher is a very fair price on Brady. Chuck's number, I think he's been one of the most unlucky players in the league, and the numbers would support that in terms of
the amount of shots that this guy's getting. It's crazy.
It's not only so the shot attempts he's got 148 shot attempts this year in 22 games. So that's one thing for sure. But you break it down. So like, for example, Matt Barzal is a very unlucky player in the NHL. However, his expected goals is largely accumulated from all these low XG events. Like, he does not have a lot of high XG events this year. And when you actually look at Brady Tkachuk, it's completely different. Like, he's on a game by game basis, he's getting roughly one high danger chance per game. He's getting more than 2 medium danger chances per game. At some time, I think it's going to balance out. He's shooting 1.1% lower than last year. I do think that there's going to be an uptick in his goal scoring going forwards. I'm hoping for Halak, obviously, maybe that the Rangers say, hey, he just beat the Sens. Let's ride him back and see if we can have him beat the Sens again. But either way, I do think that's a valuable bet. And honestly, there's something about Ottawa that I think Ottawa's been incredibly unlucky. They have the vibe of the Hurricanes several years ago, where they just put a ton on net and they can't score. So maybe that's just going to continue. But if you look at Ottawa in the month of November as a whole, they had 1.96 goals for per 60. So actual goals for 1.96. Expected goals for per 60 in that month, 3.08. That can't go on forever. Even if they're taking a lot of poor shots, I think there's a lot of positive regression for the Sens going forwards here. But I do like the Brady Tkachuk goal score prop tonight. And I do think that Ottawa is a team to watch as potentially an undervalued one going forwards.
I see comments in the chat here from Lonnie saying Igor Shesterkin first goalie off at Rangers morning skate per Molly Walker. So here he goes.
Thanks,
goalie
Lonnie.
News. That's what you get in the you get in the Edgework YouTube.
I like that. I appreciate
notifications.
That.
Yeah,
it's tough when you're on air to keep up with all the news. Totally. I do this Sunday NFL 11 a.m. pizza buffet, and I got like a million things going on. It's very tough. So appreciate that, Lonnie.
And that play was tracked in the BetStamp app in the marketplace, where you can find us as Edgework. You can follow us on there and then see all of our plays tracked in real time. Andy, any best bets for tonight?
So I posted my VSiN article earlier. There'll be some things I'm monitoring today. I know people are a lot less risk adverse than I am, so I do tend to wait until goaltenders are confirmed more often than not before I actually kind of publicly give out a bet. But yeah, I don't give out a whole lot of totals, and I don't know that I want to do this today because I don't know. But like the Islanders and Predators over 5.5 is kind of staring me in the face today at plus 115 at Profit Exchange. You can get minus 125 kind of consensus price. But I also like Noah Dobson. I think this game is kind of like a sneaky high paced game. Both teams allow a lot of shots. The Predators are tired. Kevin Lankinen has been pretty good this season. Mm-hmm. But I keep going back to Noah Dobson over 2.5 shots, minus 130 at DraftKings. I don't know if there's a better price out there because the shot props are kind of tough at this time in the day. But Dobson's been really good for the Islanders, and he's gone over that total more than his odds would suggest he does. And lately, I mean, he's gone over it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of his last 6 games. And if you go further than that, he's been kind of on a streak here in the last 10 or 11 games where he's gone over that 2.5 shot total quite a bit. So I do like Noah Dobson over 2.5 shots at minus 130. I know it's not the sexiest bet in the world, but not the chalkiest either. I mean, you could look at a guy like Tkachuk to go over 3.5 shots, which he will probably do at minus 130. But I like Dobson here at minus 130 to go over 2.5.
All right, that will also be tracked in the BetStamp app. And then the only one that I'm going to go with, I talked to Rob before we started, I'm going to the Columbus-Winnipeg game, and I'm going to go with Jack Roslovic, anytime goal scorer. I was seeing it at plus 400. I love the revenge game narrative. That's just you playing your old team, like going up against them. And he talked about it, like there's just uncertainty in goaltenders, so you don't really know who may or may not be in net here. And then we're also just looking at this, and you can find plus 400. You're seeing like 350, 370, 310 down in the rest of the market. So just based on best price in market, Caesar Sportsbook there. And give me Jack
just
Roslovic.
For the hell of it, can you go to the Noah Dobson shots on goal? Because I did look earlier and there was nothing up for shots on
just
goal.
had it
Just
up.
curious.
2.5 Botanos over -133. That is the best price in market. But the roughly -140 average price on over 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other bets here for tonight? Is that all?
It's a tough card. Like, honestly, the Columbus Winnipeg game, we still don't know the goalie combo, so that could really swing things either way. By the way, like, Merzlikins has not been good this year either.
And he's coming off a hip injury, and you never know with a guy. Like, maybe he just ends up backing up Korpisalo tonight, but you never know what kind of game shape a guy's going to be in after something like that, and how long he's been off, what he's been skating, what he's been doing in his workouts and whatnot. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. Even if he plays, what kind of goaltending are you going to get from him?
And I think the Islanders have a lot of the vibes of the Rangers last year, where people will continuously fade them because their XG numbers are poor, but then they have Sorokin, and he's just going to keep winning games because
I have the Islanders and I think there would be I could probably justify betting them somewhere if I shopped around. I mean, Superbook, obviously I don't have access to that, but that has -154, Pinnacle -156. I think they should be around -170 if it's Sorokin versus Lankinen, which it probably will be, but obviously it's kind of tough with Hines has started Saros on a back-to-back before, and he had and Varlamov could always get the start for the Islanders as well, like I mentioned before.
I think Lankinen has been good enough this year that they're not scared to go to him on the back-to-backs.
No, for sure.
There were times before where Saros, when Saros was backed up by Riddick, it was oh God, we need
never.
To go. Yeah,
even in the situations where you're like, he has to go with Riddick tonight, he wouldn't. And it was getting kind of frustrating, actually, because I bet against a few what I thought were bad lines against the Nashville Predators last season, thinking that there's like a 80% chance that Riddick goes tonight, and within a half an hour, nope, Saros is starting. So it's like
dark days.
All right. Well, that will do it for today's edition of Edgework. You can find us all here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. But if you're looking for hockey content throughout the week, you can find us on the Edgework YouTube channel just as Edgework, or on Twitter at Edgework Show, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you're looking for all the picks that we give out on the show, you can find us in the BetStamp app in the marketplace as Edgework. But if you're looking for more of Rob's content, you can go over to thehammer.bet, find all of the different stuff that Rob is on, whether it's soccer shows or, football, either football show that you're looking for. Rob's on those. Sunday morning, going through NFL slates, Sunday night pregame, Monday night pregame, as well as at halftime in those. And if you're looking for more content from Andy, you can go over to VSiN, get the VSiN Pro subscription.
And my OnlyFans.
I don't know.
They're not promoting that on here.
That.
Can I just say, look at the fire hat game on us today. Eh?
What do you guys think of this? I was very I didn't know, but I've always liked the Sabres logo, especially the old school. Right?
I just picked. I just got this one here today. I gotta hide my bald head.
Yeah. There you go.
So you're adding more hats to the collection. Also, follow Andy on Twitter at Digital Gambler, and you may be able to grab a hat in a giveaway.
Look at this shit.
Wow.
There you go.
40,
I'm just glad you were wearing pants when you got up to do that.
Oh, that one's nice. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you follow me on Twitter. You might win some hats because I got something to give away. I kind of got things got out of hand here, so.
The one I had my eye on in the photo was the Whalers hat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're not getting that. Send you a Yankees hat or something.
Oh God, I did try to buy a Ray Ferraro Hartford Whalers jersey a couple of years ago off of those overseas jersey sites.
Yeah.
But there was no guarantee. Yeah, that's what it was. It was AliExpress. But there was no guarantee it was a Ferraro jersey coming back. I was like, I'm not doing it.
Probably have one R or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted it for the pond. That's a good pond hockey jersey.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that does it for today's edition of Edgework. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and we will see everyone back here with this crew next Friday. But we will be back with Edgework Monday morning. Myself, Andrew Walker, Joe Madden, Alex B. Smith. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.